You probably never heard of them. 9 young Japanese students, full of rebellion, rage, and idealism, hijacked a plane thinking they were starting a revolution. But what they didn't know, their biggest enemy wasn't the government, it was reality itself. This is the insane, real story of the Udogo hijacking and how North Korea became their forever home, or their golden prison. Let's rewind. March 31, 1970, Japan Airlines, Flight 351, is getting ready for a routine domestic flight from Tokyo to Fukuoka. It's a standard Boeing 727 carrying 129 passengers. A peaceful morning, nothing seems off, yet. Among the passengers were 9 university students. Not your average students. These were radical left-wing revolutionaries, part of a group called the Japanese Red Army faction. Their dream? To overthrow the Japanese government and spark a communist uprising. But instead of leading protests or passing out flyers, they brought fake grenades, samurai swords, and what turned out to be toy guns onto the plane. That's right, every weapon they had was either fake or modified to look real. But nobody knew that at the time. So what happens when you mix blind ideology, fake weapons, and a hijacked plane? Chaos. Just after takeoff, one of the students stood up, pulled out a sword, and shouted something that would change all their lives. This plane is hijacked. We're going to North Korea. Panic erupted. Passengers screamed. Flight attendants froze. The hijackers, led by a 27-year-old named Takamura, forced their way into the cockpit and ordered the pilot to divert the flight north. But here's where things got tricky. Boeing 727s weren't built to make transcontinental flights without refueling, so they demanded to stop at Fukuoka first to refuel. The authorities, already alerted, saw an opportunity. Japan's government was terrified. North Korea in the 70s wasn't just a rogue state, it was the black hole of Asia. Nobody wanted a plane full of hostages flying into that. So the Japanese authorities came up with a ridiculous plan. Let's fake North Korea. Yep, you read that right. The plan was to trick the hijackers into thinking they landed in Pyongyang, when in reality, they'd be landing in South Korea at Gimpo Airport in Seoul. South Korea quickly evacuated the airport. They removed every visible airplane, changed vehicle markings, tore down logos of Western companies, and rushed to put up North Korean flags all over the place. They even handed North Korean flags to a crowd of civilians and had them wave and cheer like a welcome party. They were building a movie set on an airport runway. But the most genius part, a fake map. The hijackers had insisted on getting flight charts to confirm they were heading into North Korean airspace. The authorities handed them one, but taped behind that map, a small note, a note for the pilot. It read, "Set the radio frequency to 121.5. We'll communicate the real plan there." And that's how they pulled it off. The pilot, now fully aware of the setup, played along. As they approached South Korea, Japanese fighter jets escorted them. The hijackers thought it was North Korea welcoming them. As the plane landed at Gimpo Airport in Seoul, everything looked off, but just barely. The fake flags were there, the crowd was waving. Even a group of schoolgirls had been arranged to sing the supposed North Korean anthem. But Takamura, the ringleader, wasn't an idiot. He looked out the window. Something was wrong. There were foreign cars, American-looking equipment, even a black soldier in military uniform. A black soldier in North Korea. He hesitated, waited. Then he did something bold. He opened the plane door and shouted, down to the man waiting beside the bus, "Where are we?" The bus driver, completely unprepared, replied, "You're in Seoul." Boom! The illusion shattered. Takamura turned around and told the others, "This is a trap." The situation was about to explode literally. The authorities now had to renegotiate everything from scratch. But the hijackers still had the upper hand. They were armed, or so everyone thought, and still had over 100 passengers. So the negotiations continued. Japanese Vice Minister of Transport, Shinjiro Yamamura, flew to South Korea to personally take charge. He coordinated with Korean officials to keep the plane grounded as long as possible. They starved the plane of fuel. They let the air conditioning die out. No food, no water, and toilets overflowing. Over 100 people sitting in hell. While 9 students demanded fuel and a flight path to North Korea. But then something unexpected. North Korea reached out. They sent a message to Japan, saying they were willing to accept the hijackers and would guarantee the plane's safe return along with the crew. Suddenly, everything shifted. The Japanese government now saw an opportunity to save the hostages. They proposed a trade: release all the passengers. In exchange, they'd send one high-profile government official as a hostage. Guess who volunteered? Shinjiro Yamamura himself, the vice minister. That's not a movie script. That's just Japan. In Japanese political culture, if you're the leader in charge, you carry the burden, even if it means putting your life on the line. So the exchange was arranged. One of the hijackers walked off the plane. Yamamura walked on, and the passengers, all 129 of them, were finally freed. The plane was then refueled, and the 9 hijackers, along with the pilot, a co-pilot, 1 crew member, and Yamamura, flew off. For real this time. This time, to actual North Korea. Pyongyang welcomed them with open arms. The hijackers were greeted like heroes, the Japanese revolutionaries, as North Korean propaganda called them. They were given a fancy hotel stay, praised on state media, even offered homes and full amenities. But here's the twist. All the weapons they used in the hijacking, 100% fake. The samurai swords, plastic explosives, and pistols, they were all just props. Even the bomb bags were full of candy bars and wires. Yamamura was shocked. Japan was furious. But North Korea had a different idea. These 9 men were gold. North Korea turned them into a propaganda machine. They housed them in a special fenced-off compound in Pyongyang called Little Japan, a community built specifically for them. They were given cooks, servants, teachers, even a personal cinema. But they weren't allowed to leave. Luxury prison. And it didn't stop there. Years later, several young Japanese women disappeared from Europe. Turns out, many had been recruited, possibly tricked or coerced into joining the hijackers in North Korea. Some even married them. One of the women, she was the girlfriend of one of the hijackers. She actually tracked him down and begged North Korean officials to let her join him. She did. They got married. Soon, the Little Japan compound was home not to 9 men but 9 full families. They had kids. They had a school, a movie theater, even doctors. But they couldn't leave. North Korea kept them hidden, watched, and silent. Occasionally, one of them would sneak out using fake passports to try and recruit more Japanese radicals abroad. But some were caught. 2 were arrested and returned to Japan, tried and imprisoned. The rest, they're still in North Korea. As of today, some of them are likely still alive. And their children. Strangely, North Korea allowed them to return to Japan, possibly fearing the rise of a foreign community inside their own borders. As for the original hijackers, they're stuck. They've become tools of North Korean propaganda. They were revolutionaries once. Now, they're pawns. This story, it's barely scratched the surface. And what happened next? How Japan and North Korea danced in a political shadow game, trying to get the hijackers back, takes the story into an even darker, weirder place. To be continued in part 2.